quarter established the fact that if we need to gain 4 or 5 yards, we're just going to let Cody Inners run with the football.
Yeah, and you started to see him kind of get that confidence going, going off tackle, and he did it both sides. He went over left, he went over right, and he's hard to bring down, and when they need a short 2 or 3 yards, he's able to get that and then some for them.
He's averaging 3.5 yards per carry, but you got to factor in a couple of times he was brought down out of those passing plays, but methodically in that second quarter, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5 yards per carry each time, and a lot of those were on second down and longs. It turned him into third and shorts, and then he got the first down, and conversions starting to be a factor. But do the Rattlers defense have enough to stop this Mavericks team?
Well, they've shown they can slow them down. Now, if they're going to be out there all afternoon, that's going to wear off pretty quick. They've shown that they can put pressure on them. They've shown that they can cover the back end. They haven't really given up too many huge running plays. So I think they've done a good job of keeping things in check for the most part. But, the bend but don't break, it only lasts so long, Joe.
No running game for the Sharyland Rattlers. 14 carries, 21 yards in the first half. That's 1.5 yards per carry, Kevin Narl. But Diego Chrysler, 12 of 17, 127 in the air. Best receiver thus far, Brandon Garza, 7 catches, 91 yards. 5 different guys catch passes. Do you abandon the run and just strictly go with that spread offense and keep them off balance with that?
Well, going into the second half, obviously they trailed by 10, so you're going to have to open up your playbook and really dig deep in the passing game. And you're right, I'm going to agree, you're going to have to abandon that run, because if they score another 7, you're really going to have to get your passing game going. But I'm not really worried at all. Chrysler, if he can duplicate what he did in that first half, I think the Rattlers have a really legit shot on coming back. They're only down by 10.
Mondo Garza, 2 quarterbacks, but right now you got to stick with the hot hand, Diego Chrysler.
No doubt about it, you do. And to emphasize Kevin's point, a lot of these short screen passes, they're just as good as runs. If your West Coast terminology, if you will, a short pass is as good as a run. So, they're moving the ball well. But yeah, to answer your question, I definitely, you stay with the hot hand, you let him stay in that rhythm, because he is playing very well this afternoon.
Halftime here at Buccaneer Stadium, 17-7 the score. Mavericks lead the Rattlers. Let's pause just a little bit, let you watch a little bit of the Sharyland High School marching band. Once again, as we continue to enjoy the Sharyland Rattler Marching Band here, we are at the 7:45 mark before we start the second half kickoff. And one thing to be said, as far as the weather conditions, there is a wind. Wind is going to be at the back of the Sharyland Rattlers in that third quarter. Are you in, if you're beyond the 40-yard line, Armando Garza, for the Sharyland Rattlers, down 10 points, first possession? Are you in a 4-down situation right out of the gate to start the second half?
Well, I mean, it's a 2-score game right now. And, some people say go get the touchdown, get momentum. I say get a score. If it's a field goal or if it's a touchdown, you got to get points. So I think, down in distance, everything would dictate that decision. But my main objective would be to get points. If it's 3 points, hey, it's 17-10. It's a one-possession game. If you get nothing, that's when you're going to have to panic.
Kevin Narl, points are there for the taking, at least if you look at the way the offense was able to move the football. Sharyland punted just 2 times in that first half. Otherwise, they're marching the ball downfield. And, well, one time they punted the football once, and then the other time was a missed field goal. So you got a football team that points are there for the taking.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was one of the big momentum shifters Well, that high snap that went over the quarterback's head, that really pushed him back a bit. And for a second, we thought, well, maybe this might give the receivers an opportunity to run some more routes, or crisp routes, rather. And then they missed a field goal, and then the Mavericks really just came down and ran the ball really down their throat. An updated score from Judson and United at halftime. Judson 42, United 14.
They woke them up.
Really, yeah, a sleeping giant, really, in Converse Judson. One of the better teams that I've seen, really in the state of Texas.
Maybe they were tuning in, Joe. They might have heard you.
Might have heard me say that. A little bit later on, let's talk a little bit while we got a few minutes here. Edinburgh North, if Sharyland's up against it here against the Madison Mavericks, Edinburgh North, they know what they're up against in Cibolo Steel.
Yeah, Cibolo Steel, is really a force to be reckoned with in the 5A. Jonathan Stockton, was already verbally committed to Texas Tech. The difference, I think, this year is with Edinburgh North's defense from this year to last year is the speed and the physicality of that Edinburgh North defense. Armando brought up a great point last week. The reason why they beat Harlingen South was because they're a physical football team and they can run the ball. If Edinburgh North can slow down Stockton, run the football, control the time, it's going to be tough. But I do think they have the speed this year to maybe slow them down for a couple of quarters, but it's going to be a very tall task.
Slowing down Stockton, let's see. If you can cut 10 yards per carry off his average, he's still going to average 5 yards per run.
Ouch. Yeah, he's averaging 15 yards a carry. He's just a stud of a running back. And again, like this team with Madison, the physicality of those kids, 6'4", 6'3", go up against a smaller group in Edinburgh North. David Alzandua is out again for the Cougars, their right tackle. So that's another, minus for the Cougars going into that football game.
Stockton, though, may not have 3,000 yards of rushing. And Armando Garza in the second game that we'll be covering here on Digital 4.2. Combine the tailbacks for the Port Isabel Tarpons, you got 3,000 yards in a box and a quarterback that's going to add some more as well.
That's well, and we talked about that last week when Kevin and I did the game. I've done a lot of Port Isabel Tarpon games. You've seen a few Port Isabel Tarpon games too. Whoever's hot is going to get the ball, and everybody, they are going to share the ball. You'll see JJ Gonzalez get it. He'll come in. He won't even start the game at times. He'll come in when they need a pop, and he'll just keep popping. But they'll give it to Jacob Lozoya, Juan Aguilera, Isaiah Martinez. They'll even give Nick Bomarito, Pedro Gonzalez. I can go on and on with the guys that Jockey out got to carry last week for a touchdown.
He did.
So being able to spread the wealth around, get fresh legs in there, that's what makes Port Isabel so good.
That's a preview of more games coming your way on ValleyCentral.com and Digital Subchannel 4.2. The band exits the field. That means it's getting close to the second half kickoff. Mavericks lead this one 17-7. Final break, and we come back second half from this regional football playoff game between Sharyland and Madison on Digital Subchannel 4.2 and ValleyCentral.com. Hope you're enjoying our broadcast here on Digital Subchannel 4.2 and on ValleyCentral.com. Fans out there on ValleyCentral.com, want to remind you that, yes, the video will be available on this about an hour or so after the conclusion of the football game.